missing someone.
Hey, this is Baundiesel, and I am bringing you another video in my Video Everyday challenge for August. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the Division 1 and existing issues. I'm going to do a few of these videos, and this time I'm going to talk about PvP. Now you may say, Baundiesel, why are you talking about PvP? You don't like PvP. That is patently incorrect and false. I love PvP. Almost every game I've ever played, I've enjoyed the PvP more than anything. I started playing PvP, I would say my first, especially online PvP, was probably the original Rainbow Six back on the day, killing it on my 56k connection. And I have PvP in the Division, and I do enjoy it to some point even now. But it's not what it could be, and it's not what it should have been. So I want to talk about a myriad of issues in the current game of all types, and then talk about how I think those can be improved and changed for the Division 2. To give a great experience to the people who want that from the game, including myself. So the first topic is bugs and exploits. Through the life of this game, we obviously know that there's been more than our fair share of both of these things. Many of them have been squashed, many of them still exist and are currently being worked on, as we know. So, you know, things like the network issues and lag. Lag is a weird word because a lot of people use it to characterize a lot of different problems. But there's no doubt that, you know, for various reasons, people have been dealing with this and complained about it in Division 2. I'm not a network engineer. I'm not a developer. I don't know how those things work. I don't even know specifically what the biggest issue is. I know from watching some videos on YouTube and stuff like that. There's a particular YouTuber who only does network tests on games who really didn't give an awful review of the Division when he covered it. But it seemed like more the issues are even more on like the game side and less on the networking side. So I really hope that whatever those issues are, they're able to resolve them and make them a lot better for Division 2. A big part of that are the movement exploits. I think the game is almost famous at this point for the chicken dance. There's some people who really think that they are very impressive because they can chicken dance and kill people. It is what it is. My opinion is probably obvious from how I worded that, but I really hope that that is not a thing in Division 2. And I will say, from my very small amount of time with the Division 2, with the demo, the first thing most people tried to do when they got onto that demo was chicken dance, and it doesn't work. Now, say what you will about the movement system and the animation. I know there's been some hubbub about that, but as far as I can tell, the movement issue shouldn't be a big problem, and I really hope it's not in the Division 2 the way it currently is. And then skill and talent bugs and stuff. Obviously, we're currently dealing with the moving in, you know, the moving in place bug that is caused by a combination of issues and is being worked on right now. But that's not the only one. We know that there's other bugs in the game. The best thing that Division 2 can do is come out. It's not going to be perfect. It's going to have some issues that need to be fixed. That's just the way the world works. But these big ones like this, these ones that are, you know, quote unquote game breaking and really hurt the experience, that kind of really hurt the game when it released originally. We really just can't have that. That's not news to anyone. Any dev or anyone who would happen to listen to this is gonna be like, well, yeah, obviously, Bond. But I'm still stating it just so it's clear. Please. The next part is cheating and anti-cheat. I think it's pretty obvious that we don't have a system like Punkbuster and things like that, and I don't think there has to be. But there does need to be something different than what we currently have. It seems like for the most part, they depend on back-end stat tracking and player reports. I don't expect them to just shoehorn a, you know, battle eye or something like that into the game, but something more active really does seem important. At the very, very, very least, a really clear reporting system within the game, I think, is super important for these kind of issues. I think that it can work what they're currently doing, I guess, but especially for, obviously, for the most part, it's PC players that need this. I've played on Xbox a lot. I've seen people do exploits and stuff like that, but that's more of a game issue and less of an anti-cheat issue. But it just for the love of God, please give them something, because it seems like that's, you know, an issue that it's always going to be there. It's a cat and mouse game, right? You create a fix, or you have an anti-cheat that stops people from doing a thing. They find a new thing they can do, and then you have to squash that. It's a never-ending battle, right? but a more active participation in that battle, and maybe even just a more visible one, is what people are going to want and need for Division 2. Now, for consoles, the Cronus Max Zim thing is really important. Obviously, you're in the know, you understand that it's not really a Division issue for them to handle that. Microsoft is working on official keyboard and mouse support now, but as a part of that announcement, they even specifically said that they're making new programming and new APIs and stuff for the game developers to be able to detect Cronus Max and Zims and those types of things to prevent them from being used. So whether there is or not isn't a system currently to do that, it seems like it just doesn't work, because I'm not aware of a single game that has prevented Cronus, Zim, those other products from being used. Fortnite, Call of Duty, The Division, other ones. It's a problem, and I really hope it's handled. There's some gameplay stuff that can be done. They've attempted to do it with RPM limits, with changing the pop shotty on shotguns and things like that. But it seems like at some point they can only do so much from the game development side. So hopefully that's a thing that they do what they can from their side, and hopefully the Sony and Microsoft kind of get their acts together with preventing these from being abused. The next thing is talking about the Rogue system. Rogue 2.0 was obviously a big deal when it came out. People like it and don't. My personal opinion is I really was a fan of it before it came out. I still think it's the best of a bad situation. My ideal situation with Rogue 2.0, I actually like the manhunt stations. I just wish there were a whole lot more of them at any given time, and that agents actually had to find them to show them on the map, and that they just didn't pop up. When it comes to flagging Rogue, I don't like that system, but I think it was a necessary evil. My biggest issue with PvP and the DZ was always the accidental Rogue and the body blocking. And I know that there's people who will say, well, you were intending to PvP because you were shooting at people. Why are you mad that you went Rogue when you hit people? Well, if the gameplay loop in the DZ is supposed to be people who want to take your stuff, so they kill you and take it, and then they fight with the people who aren't doing that, there's that kind of organic me versus you. But if that's ruined by people playing dumb, or by a few stray bullets that turn you onto the side that you never intended to be on, that's a bad system, right? So Rogue 2.0 fixed that by having you intentionally flag Rogue and otherwise not being able to go Rogue on accident. The problem there being it's taken away a lot of the surprise and a lot of the danger of the DZ to a lot of people, including myself. I do miss being able to just pop off on someone and kill them without letting them know that it's coming. But I don't miss the body blocking and even the accidental. I don't know what the answer was in there. In hindsight, maybe I wish I would have just had friendly fire for everyone, including rogues within their own groups. That's what I always wanted. I would have preferred if everyone hurt everyone. That still doesn't take care of the body blocking and accidental system though. And straight up, I don't even know how you do that. So I'm glad I'm not a developer. I hope the people much smarter than me and much more experienced than me have discovered and are implementing a much cooler, a much more fun system in Division 2. I think a big part of that is also giving a clear goal for the DZ where the rogues happen, right? I think I'll talk about skirmish and things like that later here in a minute, but I really hope that there's some push for some cooperative play in the DZ to give people another option. Right now, the DZ just seems to be bored people killing each other, which is fine for Division 1 because it is what it is. But I really hope that Division 2, it works out a little bit differently. The next topic, gunplay, gun meta. Basically, I just want more useful guns. We have basically a handful of guns right now with a few outliers. The House, the lightweight M4, maybe the LVOAC, with a few outliers other than that some people may use for certain situations. I just want a lot more competitive guns. Give me more guns. Give me more of them that are worth using. That's all I'm asking there. Competitive play in general, I think just having an actual competitive mode would be great. I'll talk about that here in a moment, but the lower time to kill I think is going to be huge. We've already seen that in the demo that time to kill against enemies is much lower with the added difficulty of them moving differently and more fluidly and more evasively. I'm curious to how that's going to transfer over to PvP. So yeah, lower TTK, reward headshots, good lord, please give us credit for hitting headshots, especially people on console. Gear balance, we can't have the metas that we've had. That's so easy to say and so impossible to do. But I really think Now, I was told that the gear set system was originally designed with the idea that all of the high-end gear talents would be useful and desired. So you would be saying, I don't want all these awesome talents on my high-end gear. I'm going to trade those for these gear set items. What happened instead is that most of the high-end gear talents are kind of useless in the current game, and it's a clear choice to take the gear sets, and especially the classified gear. With things like the brand sets and even the gear sets that we know are coming back, I think it's going to be a better balance, and I really can't wait to see how that works. The other big thing is separating the PvP and PvE stats on various gear sets and being able to more easily adjust and balance without having to wait for client patches, without having to wait for those kinds of things. I suspect that we may get some kind of more streamlined system for that, and I really can't wait to see that. The last thing I'll talk about is just competitiveness in general. A lot of people think that the DZ is the end-all be-all of PvP in the division. I personally disagree, but I don't really know what to name something else. Skirmish kind of is, but due to some limitations of skirmish and some lack of changes in skirmish, it's just not really that, and I don't think it exists in the division currently. But for Division 2, I would love to see a skirmish-like mode that has leaderboards, maybe even a ranking system like Siege, and especially private matches. Private matches with no reward, so people can't cheese it. If you had private matches, I think you would see an organic PvP, tournament kind of system grow so quickly and so immediately. Hell, I would want to put them on. I'd love to put on, you'd have people record their games for proof. You would be able to take a screenshot of the results at the end of a match, make sure everyone was on the team that was supposed to be. And you could do leaderboards there. Upper Echelon tried to do this in Division 1. And it was just, again, I've used the metaphor before. It was trying to use a rock as a tablet. It's a great idea, but it just isn't meant for it. But Division 2, I really, really think it'd be incredible if it was meant for that. Even if it's in a very small scale. We don't need MLG tournaments. We don't need all that. I don't think that's in the cards. But some even fairly simple system to allow people to get that quote-unquote out of their system would be great. I think it would be really popular. Even I would love to partake in such a system, assuming all these other changes are in there as well. And the last thing, as I kind of touched on it a minute ago, is just giving the DZ a purpose other than bored people killing each other. The current DZ has things like landmarks, NPCs, supply drops, and contamination events, which clearly tells me, at least, that it just isn't meant to be a PvP zone. It's meant to be a place where you can PvP, but currently for the majority of people that are in there, that's what you do in there. And a lot of the people who don't want to do that just avoid it because it's not what they want to do. I really hope that there's some types of events, some types of cooperative play in there, just some encouragement to do something else. Because right now, that's not really a thing for the majority of people. I'm really hoping all these things are addressed to give PvP players the desire to stick around and stick with the game once it comes out. I'll talk about a similar set of things for PvE in a different video, but my real goal at the end of the day is for the game to have such a nice balance of things that PvP people are willing to say every now and then, hey, let's go do some PvE stuff, that sounds fun. And some PvE players are willing to say, hey, let's go try to kill some other people in these various PvP modes and situations. That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I hope we see, and I am extremely excited to kind of see what they have for us in those ways. That said, please check me out on Twitter and Twitch as Baundiesel. Look for the EchoCast, my podcast, on SoundCloud and iTunes. If you want to support me on Patreon, I would very much appreciate it. All those links are below, as well as some other stuff. I was Baundiesel, and until next time.